I hope you're feeling nostalgic because I got 11 questions for you on 90s video games. This is Trivia with Buds. What it be, and welcome to another episode of the Trivia with Buds podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Buds. Thank you for checking out the show, and thank you for getting ready for 90s video game trivia. That is the theme of today's little quiz. It should be a ton of fun. I'm a big child of the 90s, and I play video games to this day. I probably play less now than I ever have in my life. I would say my prime video game playing years were the late 90s, like 95 to 2000, when I was becoming a young man. And man's a strong word for anything that I am even today, but you guys get it. And it was a ton of fun playing at Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo, and I have fond memories of going to, I think it was Sears, with my mom, and they always had a really good setup at Orland Mall in Orland Park, Illinois. They had a great setup with 2 controllers and Super Nintendo, and whenever she took me, there was never anybody there. I never had to wait to play. It was kind of like a deserted one, but they had all the games in a locked case right there. I remember thinking those boxes were so cool because they were so much bigger than other video game boxes. And then they had the really big ones, like Earthbound. Do you guys remember that for Super Nintendo? Huge box. And I just have great memories playing Mario Kart, like the first time when it came out on that little trial thing, and it was awesome. I've been playing a game called Call of Juarez, which is a kind of a rail shooter. You can run around, but there's not much to grab or do. It's mostly just shooting, like a shoot 'em up kind of arcade game in the Wild West. And I got that for $10 on Nintendo Switch. So I've been biding my time with that, and the BioShock collection, which I got for a pretty good deal of $32 instead of $49.99 on Switch. So lots of fun in my house playing first-person shooters lately, and I hope you are ready because I am done talking, and we are going to jump into 11 questions on 90s video games right now. Here we go. 90s video games. Question number 1. Which Final Fantasy game came out in the U.S. in 1997 for PlayStation 1? Which Final Fantasy game came out in the U.S. in 97 for PlayStation 1? Question number 2. What did a go-kart game with the acronym CTR stand for in 1999? CTR. What did that stand for? Question number 3, what flying simulator was released with Nintendo 64's launch titles in 1996? Number 3, what flying simulator was released with Nintendo 64's launch titles in 1996? Number 4, which Sega system was released on November 27th, 1998? Number 4, which Sega system was released on November 27th, 1998? And number 5, the characters Toe Jam and Earl in Panic on Blank was released in 1993. Number 5, the characters Toe Jam and Earl in Panic on Blank was released in 1993. Question number 6, who was the shortest playable character in GoldenEye 007? Number 6, who was the shortest playable character in GoldenEye 007? Question 7, how many Sega Game Gear games were made in the 90s? Was it 150, 280, or 390? How many Sega Game Gear games were made in the 90s? 150, 280, or 390? And number 8, an educational game was made in 1993 starring Luigi called Mario is Blank. Fill in the blank. Number 8, an educational game was made in 93 starring Luigi called Mario is Blank. And number 9, true or false? The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask was released in the 90s. Is that true or false? Number 9, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask was released in the 90s. True or false? Two questions left. Number 10, which of these was not a Mortal Kombat 1 character? Was it Liu Kang, Kino, Sonya Blade, or Raiden? Number 2, which of these was not a Mortal Kombat 1 character? Liu Kang, Kino, Sonya Blade, or Raiden? And the bonus for 2 points, what actor played King Koopa in the 1993 Mario Brothers movie? For 2 points, what actor played King Koopa in the 93 Mario Brothers movie? Those are all your questions for 90s video game trivia. We'll be right back in just a second with the answers. Go blow on a cartridge. We are back with the answers to 90s video game trivia. Let's see how you did on this short quiz full of nostalgia. Number 1, which Final Fantasy game came out in the US in 97 on PlayStation 1? That was Final Fantasy VII. You had Cloud on the cover with that big old sword. Number 1, Final Fantasy VII. Number 2, what did a go-kart game with the acronym CTR stand for in 1999? Crash Team Racing. Number 2, Crash Team Racing. And number 3, what flying simulator was released with Nintendo 64's launch titles in 96? That was Pilot Wings 64. Number 3, Pilot Wings 64. And number 4, which Sega system was released on November 27th, 1998? That was Dreamcast. Dreamcast with that big, kind of cumbersome controller, kind of a circular one. Number 4. Number 5, the characters Toe Jam and Earl in Panic on Funkatron was released in 1993. Panic on Funkatron. Number 6, who was the shortest playable character in GoldenEye 007? Oddjob. Number 6, that was Oddjob. Number 7, how many Sega Game Gear games were made in the 90s? Was it 150, 280, or 390? It was 390 Game Gear games in the 90s. And number 8, an educational game was made in 93 starring Luigi called Mario is Missing. Mario is Missing. I think that was one of the first times you could play as Luigi as the star of the game. Number 8. Mario's Missing. Number 9, true or false, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask was released in the 90s. That is false. That came out in 2000. And that is one of the Zelda games I've never played. I hope they release Ocarina of Time and that one on Nintendo Switch. That would be great. Number 10, which of these was not a Mortal Kombat 1 character? Liu Kang, Kino, Sonya Blade, or Raiden? That was Kino. Number 10, Kino. And the bonus for 2 points, which actor played King Koopa in the 1993 Mario Brothers movie? That was Dennis Hopper, the late, great Dennis Hopper. Those were your answers, and I hope you had a ton of fun on 90s video game trivia today. I know I did, just thinking about playing some of those old games again. I love the Nintendo Switch Online thing that has the Nintendo and Super Nintendo games to go jump into. Some of them are terrible, but they just added Donkey Kong Country, which is not terrible. That is fun times. All right, guys, here is your fact of the day for this episode. It is in Switzerland, it is illegal to flush the toilet after 10 p.m. In Switzerland, it's illegal to flush the toilet after 10 p.m. Do not get on a schedule where you're going after 10. You can't flush it. Got to keep it floating, which is pretty gross. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Thanks for telling a friend about the podcast, and we'll see you next time for more Trivia with Buds. Cheers.